Okay, let's do either or, and I will start with you, Bart. Let's talk about Dalvin Cook. More yards this weekend. Dalvin Cook or the entire Bears offense? Who you got?
I'm going to take the Bears offense. Listen, I know Chuck Pagano, he's not going to let a guy coming in this hot with 200 yards of offense over the last 2 weeks beat him. He's going to go, if he has to go cover zero man-to-man on the outside, he'll do it. Dalvin Cook will now outrush and outgain the Chicago Bears.
Rob Ninkovich, you're up next. Either or, who's going to rush for more yards this weekend? Josh Allen or Kyler Murray?
Well, I'm going to have to go with the number one rusher in the NFL for quarterback. That's Kyler Murray. Come on, the guy is running out of his mind outside of the pocket. He's the fastest man on the field, faster than the corners. Every single guy on the field, he's faster than. 543 yards this year rushing, going with Kyler.
RC, your game is Ravens-Patriots. Who will throw for more yards, Lamar Jackson or Cam Newton?
It's going to be Lamar Jackson. We watched Lamar Jackson in the second half find some things in between the numbers against the Indianapolis Colts. And this New England Patriots defense gave up big passing yards to the New York Jets and Joe Flacco. And when you watch Cam Newton and that offense of the New England Patriots, they struggle to create yardage in the pass game. And when you have Marlon Humphrey, Jimmy Smith, and Marcus Peters sitting on the other side, they're going to make it very difficult on Cam Newton. Lamar Jackson is the answer to this question.
Yeah, speaking of Lamar, of course, he had the comments earlier this week on Rich Eisen's show that the defenses are calling out their offensive plays. So, offensive coordinator Greg Roman addressed those comments from earlier in the week. Here's what he said.
We're very aware of our tendencies. We're aware that there are some right now. And that's, again, like I said, where it gets interesting. When you're good at something and you can keep pressing that button, then you have the opportunity to flip the script at some point moving forward.
All right, so that's an interesting one here, Bart Scott. Yeah. And let me bring the crew in here. Do I have Ninkovich? Because that's, I believe, where I wanted to start. Rob Ninkovich, you're a linebacker, so you obviously were sitting there. You'd be calling out what you thought was coming. But if the defenses are getting it right, if they are calling out the plays regularly, what does that mean for the offense?
Look, offensively, we know that in the NFL, they're going to continue to run their plays over and over and over. It'd be like if me and RC were playing Madden and I was just hitting triangle after a good play. I just hit triangle over and over again. He knows I'm going to run the same play. He knows it's coming, but I am not going to change the play up until he stops me. And if the Ravens are going to continue to run their same plays, it's okay. You have to stop them. But then that is the issue for the Ravens. They can't figure it out to go anywhere else. They have to stay with the same stuff. So for me, I could think back to when we were playing Manning, right? We're playing Peyton Manning going into the game plan. We knew we couldn't
do the same thing all the time,
or else he was going to kill us. So we went and we changed it up. We went out and we changed our defense. I swapped with our linebackers. We got a play on it. We had a huge interception. It was massive, right? We stayed with that same type of defense for like 2 more years where we were doing the swaps. And in the second year of it, we were getting absolutely killed by it. So what my point is, you have to eventually change, and you have to change things up. But if the teams can't stop you, they can call the plays out. It doesn't matter. If they can't stop you, who cares?
Here's what I will say. No one in this program does a better job of bringing his great plays from his career onto the show than Rob Ninkovich. I give you all the respect in the world. You pick off Peyton Manning, that makes the show. I like it. But, Bart, let me come to you here. Yeah. You made an interesting comparison to what this Ravens offense is right now. What is that?
Well, basically, it's a gadget offense, right? This is basically the Wildcat with a quarterback that can throw. Take Lamar Jackson off the field, put Ronald Brown out there, and it's basically the Wildcat. What happens is it's all about changing the math when you're talking about defense. It's a defense that's supposed to trick your eyes. That's why all the motions are there. And what happens is when you've played this offense for so long, you start to understand the tendencies of where Ricky Williams lined up, or if Ricky Williams lined up at the receiver and if he came in that jet motion. You start understanding the tendencies of what happens and what certain personnel groupings mean. The NFL is caught up to this defense. That's why people can call out their plays. So listen, they have to do something. I sat here with you on this set a month ago, and I told you I was concerned about the Baltimore Ravens because I said they need to get up somebody who can make an impact outside the numbers. They decided to go with Yannick Ngakoue instead of giving Lamar Jackson a toy to play with. And until they do that, they're going to be stuck with this offense because, listen, Lamar Jackson's only thrown a couple of touchdowns to 2 receivers, 2 touchdowns to receivers outside of tight ends. That's why they have to go out and get an impact player on the outside. If not, then they're going to continue to struggle.
So, RC, let's sort of look ahead at this thing. This particular incarnation of the Ravens, they've been spectacular in moments. And obviously, Lamar Jackson won an MVP, and they've won a lot of games. But how does it end? Does it end with confetti falling on them as champions, or does it end with them ultimately deciding this way we're playing doesn't wind up working in the biggest games?
No, I don't believe they end up standing as champions, especially when somebody let Henry Hill in the building. They've forgotten 2 golden rules. You never rat on your friends and you keep your mouth closed. Now we have a team and an organization that usually has stability, that usually have leadership, and now they're pillow talking. They're talking to the media about things that go on the field, about things that go on inside their building. We've heard from Harbaugh. We've heard from Roman. We've now heard from Lamar Jackson. I think that lets you know what's going on in this building. It lets you know that this team isn't playing at a high level. And you can't win this way. Necessity and capacity breeds who you are. It turns you to the capacity that they can't throw the football has now made it a necessity that they learn how to run it, and that they run it consistently, and they run it constantly, and they run it from the same formations. They don't have the people on the outside, as Bart mentioned. They don't have the capacity to expand the passing game right now. So this is who they are going to be. And built this way, playing this way, they can't beat the Kansas City Chiefs when it matters. They can't beat the Pittsburgh Steelers when it matters. And so when we get to the playoffs, we won't be seeing Lamar Jackson and the Baltimore Ravens hoist the sticky Lombardi until they change who they are by getting new people to change what they can do.
What do you think?
I would ask RC or Rob, do you think that the Ravens have a receiver that would crack the top 40 as far as skill position players in this league?
RC.
No, they do not. And that's why they
Case
should have went
closed.
out and gotten somebody before the trade deadline.
So, to your point before, they went out and doubled down on a strength. They went out and got Ngakoue, which is all well and good. But in the offense we're running right now, you're right. It is a combination of personnel and philosophy. Okay, it's interesting. Meanwhile, let's talk about a different quarterback. Let's talk about Carson Wentz. He's looking to turn it around as the Eagles come back from their bye and visit the Giants this Sunday. Wentz has turned the ball over in every game this season. He leads the league in turnovers with 16, which is the same number Jameis Winston had through 8 games last season. And he just lived through a week in which Brett Favre went on a huge show on First Take here on ESPN and suggested that they should have stayed with Nick Foles. So I will ask anyone on this show who wants to do so to change my mind. I would argue that based on all those circumstances, no one is under more pressure this weekend than Carson Wentz. I believe he is facing more pressure to win this weekend than anyone, because if you watch the Giants play, they're not good, but they play everybody tough. Yeah. So could the Giants win this game? They absolutely could. And if either the noise got loud this week after Brett Favre made his comments, imagine how loud it will be next week in Philadelphia if the Eagles were to lose to the Giants. So in my opinion, there's no one under more pressure this weekend than Carson Wentz. Let me bring out the group here and see if anyone wants to try and change my mind on that. Who will we go to first? Kimberly, I'll start with you. Do you want to change my mind? What do you think? Who's under the most pressure this week?
You know what? I wanted to, but I really am in agreement. You know why? Because Carson Wentz was drafted in 2016, and we still don't know if he's the guy. That's a problem, especially in Philly, especially after they won a Super Bowl with Nick Foles at quarterback. I think when you look at this offense, there are a lot of questions, and Carson is not delivering the answers that people need. And Doug Peterson's, I don't want to say refusal, but his reticence to just squash the Brett Favre stuff from jump did raise eyebrows in Philly. I mean, since Frank Reich left, Peterson, this offense and Carson Wentz have not looked the same, and that is troubling.
And it's worth reminding everyone who doesn't know, Doug Peterson and Brett Favre were teammates once upon a time in Green Bay. So that I think sort of added a layer to this. All right, RC, you look pensive. Do you want to change my mind?
I want to so badly, though, Green. Like,
exactly.
I've run through every single division, every quarterback, every head coach, and I've tried to think of someone who was in a more difficult situation, because no matter how much you want to say about Brett Favre is a Hall of Famer. Brett Favre knows quarterback play. So when he says that, people start to think, you know what, that's right. Nick Foles was the Super Bowl MVP. And then now you look at the fact that if Evan Ingram catches a football in primetime against the Philadelphia Eagles, the New York Giants actually beat them. And so you start to think about where Carson Wentz is in his career and what we expect from the money that they gave him. And then you say, Doug Peterson, you took a long time to come out and say something about Brett Favre. Did you whisper this to him? Is this something that you guys have had a conversation about? So, Greeny, I'd like to make you wrong, but today I can't. You are absolutely correct. Carson Wentz is under more duress, more stress. He is under a higher microscope than anybody playing football this weekend.
I'm 2 for 2. Bart Scott, what do you think? You want to change my mind?
Well, I'll tell you what, you and Brett Favre are both wrong, Ryan. I tell you what, when you go in, you have to look at the chef, and the chef in the kitchen that got all the ingredients that he needs for a great meal but has failed to put it together is Bruce Arians, because the most talented roster in all of football is the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and they have the GOAT. He hasn't found a way to try and get the best out of the GOAT. He's trying to mix his philosophy. He's trying to mix his philosophy with Tom Brady's. We saw this happen when Peyton Manning went to Denver. You have to let Tom Brady be Tom Brady. Bruce Arians has to find a way to get this team and this offense and settle in on a proper personnel. So Bruce Arians, the chef, is under the most pressure.
Okay, I want to react to that, especially when I see
talk so long.
RC's face. But, Kimberly, I'm being told you have breaking news, so let me throw it to you. What is our news?
Yes, more COVID tests. The Browns just announced that they had a player test positive for COVID today. So the facility is shut down. That player has been isolated. And this news comes on the heels of Baker Mayfield being placed on the COVID-19 list on Saturday, and he was activated on Wednesday. So now we have the whole facility shut down, intensive protocol. So we'll see. The Browns are scheduled to play the Texans. We'll see what comes out later today.
Yes, okay, so there you have it with Cleveland. We have seen this multiple times. As we've said here on Fridays, Bart, you will remember, and all of us who do these Fridays, we have had this multiple times over the last few weeks, and in each of those cases, the games were ultimately played out. They shut down the Jets facility one week. They shut down, I forget what the other ones have been. But